Hello, everyone! The 70th episode had ended on a very tragic note, but I've got a lot of thoughts on my mind about its finale. Plus, we've got a secret ending scene in the compilation video with all 3 parts of episode 70 edited together. And when I saw it, I got my own interpretation of what actually happened to Plungerman in the series, and spoiler alert, that's not what you're going to expect at all. In today's video, I'm going to analyze the secret scene at the end of the full 70th episode for you, and in there, I found the details no other Skibidi analyst talked about. And besides that, I will also answer the following questions. Did Plungerman actually die, or something else has happened to him? What kind of relationship does he and the secret agent have, and how is it going to be resolved in the end of the Skibidi Toilet series? And the most important thing, will we see him again? Get your tea and snacks ready and prepare to watch this video to the end, because what you're gonna learn today will simply blow your mind. Let's go! And first of all, let me remind you of how the 3rd part of episode 70 had actually ended, because there will be some really important details I need to tell you about before we'll continue talking about Plungerman. So, when Plungerman sees the downfall of Skibidi Scientist, experiences a tragic loss of his closest comrade, and gets approached by the mysterious green-suited twins, he then gets mentally transferred into some sort of mind palace, as if he was Sherlock Holmes or something like that, where he meets the secret agent in the flesh, metaphorically speaking. And by the way, I've recently made videos both on the origins of green-suited cameramen and the secret agent, so in case you haven't watched them yet, I highly recommend you to do so when you will finish this video, because they are really interesting. During this interaction, the secret agent tells Plungerman a few quite significant things. Firstly, that Plungerman was just a pawn in Boom's hands, and everything was planned by him from the very beginning. Secondly, the ISOTOILETs are about to take Skibidi Scientist's reign of being the biggest threat towards the Alliance, which implies that even Boom himself has no power over their fraction yet. And thirdly, he confirms that all the things Plungerman got to observe were not ever meant to be transparent to anyone, and that some things will have to be kept in secret for good. The secret agent says that there is no evidence left about what had happened in the Skibidi lab, except for only one thing, meaning Plungerman himself, who had been recording everything in the bunker since the very start. Thus, it leads him to say that Plungerman had already seen too much, and that he's not going to survive this interaction. And then, as Plungerman comes back to his senses, the sign on his screen changes to critical damage, and he begins losing the last drops of life in his body. He then gets embraced with fire, and we see the ending words on the screen, which are saying, "Camera offline." So that was the ending of the original 3rd part of the 70th episode. But then a few days later, when Boom had released the full version of the whole episode, we've got to see a secret scene that was added by him right after this tragic ending. So let's finally talk about it. After we see the inscription camera offline on the black screen before our eyes, we then suddenly get distanced a bit, so that we can find ourselves in the small white room filled with multiple cameramen who have been watching the footage from Plungerman's head camera all this time. And in that scene, I've noticed a couple of really crucial details. First of all, as the camera zooms out, we can see a table with a couple of files on it for one brief second. There's some notebook with some kind of sign on its cover which isn't possible to discern, and a purple folder right next to it. Then, we see something interesting near the injured cameraman lying on the bed and giving his thumbs up, which is a completely new type of cameraman I personally have not seen before in the series. He reminds me of a hybrid between the Alliance's medic and cameraman scientist. He wears a white doctor's coat, black medical gloves, and some kind of device on top of his head camera that looks pretty similar to an upper part of a stethoscope. And another detail that caught my attention in this very frame was this logo of the cameraman's laboratory hanging on the wall behind the cameraman doctor's back. I've seen this logo multiple times in the series before, for example in episode 49, when Simp Cameraman got teleported by TV Woman to the main laboratory of the Alliance, or in episode 23. Then, we see a bunch of other injured cameramen. One has a spear stuck in his chest, which instantly reminded me of that one cameraman who got unlucky enough to get pierced through in the very beginning of episode 65. Next to him, there is another cameraman lying in a bed. Or should I say, his upper half only. And yet he still seems to be alive and relatively well, considering how he's giving his thumbs up as well. And that brought my memories back to no other than Simp Cameraman. Yeah, guys, it's definitely impossible for me to ever forget this guy because I like him so much. I've already made a bunch of theories how Simp might have actually survived in the second part of episode 57, but Boom just hasn't decided to reintroduce him to the series yet. What if this halfless cameraman is a hint towards our favorite Simp character, and that he's actually alive and may appear in the series soon? And it's not the only reference I've noticed. Pay your attention to this cameraman in the wheelchair, whose legs also seem to be missing. Do you guys remember such character as Mecha Scientist Cameraman? It's the guy who invented the anti-parasite cannon and then got cut in two by a crazy Skibidi with saws in episode 48, but then triumphantly returned in episode 54 in a form of a whole-ass cyborg. What if it may be a hint towards this Chad as well? Plus, there are mechanical hands of two of the cameramen in this shot, which brings me back to Mecha Scientist's inventions once more. Then the camera changes its perspective once more, and we see several more characters presented to us in this secret scene. The first guy who caught my attention right away is this big cameraman dressed in the red shirt, because I haven't seen him for quite a while in the series. This guy had a pretty interesting arc with Skibidi Parasite in episodes 31 and 34, as he was infected first, but then captured by his Alliance's comrades and brought back to his senses in one of the cameraman's laboratories. Then in episode 35, the laboratory he is probably in was sneakily attacked by G-Man and the infected Titan Speakerman, where only very few cameramen managed to survive. And although we haven't been shown the red-shirted big cameraman directly, it had been implied that he could have been severely injured, so probably that was the reason for him not to appear in the following episodes of the series. Next to him, we see another cameraman doctor wearing blue medical gloves, and the Alliance's medic, but who's much more interesting to me in this scene, is this fancy cameraman dressed in a really cool black coat with the detective's hat on his head camera. I've never seen someone like him in the series before, and honestly, I think that I'm already in love with this guy. Could he be just a funny reference made by Boom, or is he a reinvented character we saw before, who's about to surprisingly reappear in the next episode? Also, did you notice how he was the only one in this facility who didn't show a thumbs up, but was using his own fancy gesture instead? I bet this guy knows the most among this crowd, and that he may be even the head of some special alliances department or something like that. By the way, notice that thing sticking out of the electronic device. Personally, it reminds me of a smaller version of the first Titan cameraman's core. Also, there's a shadowy figure on the left side from the detective cameraman, which looks like the head camera belonging to some big cameraman. And it looks like it's another character resting in this facility, and I even got an idea who he might be. Could it be the blue-shirted Chad with the rocket launcher that we saw at the end of the second part of episode 68? I mean, his head camera was not detached from his robotic body in that scene. His chest wires were just severely injured by Skibidi Kleiner's laser shot, but he had a chance of getting rescued after all. And now, let's talk about the most interesting part. Remember the opening and ending frames of that scene, where we were shown two shadows standing next to each other, of a regular cameraman standing next to the POV, and of the POV himself with the shadow of his head being cut off by this TV monitor. What's interesting, by the way, is that I couldn't see no cameraman standing next to the POV while he was turning around. So maybe there's someone invisible near him right now. So, I have a theory about all this. What if this mysterious, invisible cameraman standing next to him in the moment is someone of the secret agent's apprentices? For instance, Lucky Cameraman, or one of the two green-suited twins, because we know for sure that they all can get invisible whenever necessary. Or maybe it's Plungerman himself, who got transmitted to that place by the will of the secret agent. But then the question remains, who the POV himself is, which camera looks cut off by the black TV screen. And to tell you honestly, guys, it's really hard for me to say because based on the size of his body, he may be pretty much everyone who has a standard appearance of the Alliance's soldier. Honestly, I am still not quite sure about this mysterious shadow. But I've got an awesome theory about the character of Plungerman, and what face he might meet in the future episodes of the series, which I'll share with you right now. So, we heard the secret agent saying all these dreadful final words to him at the end of episode 70, and we actually saw Plungerman getting embraced by fire and having his head camera cut off. Because that's how the secret agent prevented him of spreading the secrets that were supposed to stay confidential forever, right? But what if I'll tell you that everything is completely upside down, and that we'll definitely see Plungerman in the future? And to explain it to you guys, I've got to say what kind of dynamics the Secret Agent and Plungerman have right now, based on what I saw in the entire series. The powers as a secret agent seem to be practically unlimited, and he's capable of doing loads of inexplainable things, which actually makes him closer to the original character of G-Man from the Half-Life game series, unlike G-Man himself, aka Skibidi Toilet, whom we didn't see for a while, by the way. And Plungerman holds the title of being literally the strongest warrior in the Alliance right now, who got through hell and back. Plus, don't forget that he was already critically injured once in episode 57, but then came back thriving after getting repaired and upgraded. So, I believe that with a couple more upgrades, his powers would be enough to fight even ISOTOILETs in the future. So, I have the following prediction. Considering that the Secret Agent is practically the G-Man of Skibidi universe, I expect him to do something similar in the future episode next. I expect the Alliance to defeat the current Skibidi Toilet threat, but then, shortly before the ending, a secret final scene to appear, where it would become obvious that ISOTOILETs are about to replace the ordinary Skibidi in their desire to conquer the Earth as well. And then, I expect to see the Plungerman's POV once more, where he would see the Secret Agent again, who will tell him something like, "Get up on your feet, Agent Plungerman. Your time to serve the justice comes once more. Sorry for picking on you last time we faced each other and all that, but now you've got to do the hard work again, as the new threat appears on the horizon." Because that's exactly what G-Man has said to Gordon Freeman in the beginning of Half-Life 2, and the dynamics between the Secret Agent and Plungerman reminded me a lot of those two. And I would definitely say that Plungerman is a real protagonist material, so I doubt that Boom would let him go so easily. And that was all for today. Write in the comments below your own theories on what might happen to Plungerman next. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel not to miss my new analyses. And that was me, ISOTOILET. See ya!